Also, I guess while this is happening, I forgot this was going to come up here. Aelia giving that explanation also removes the weapon get screen. Like, that's the weapon get screen. It's kind of a bummer, but...
Yeah, that does suck.
It's like, not the worst thing, but from a traditional standpoint.
It's the worst weapon get screen. Ugh.
I would actually take it over the X7 one.
Oh, well.
I know it's the exception, but still, if we're talking list, so...
Yeah.
This is the introduction to... And it's almost silly that I feel this way. One of my favorite characters... And I think it's just because of how he's handled. And it's such a simple thing. Like, it's not even good writing, quote unquote. It's just rational. Like, I love that. Like, first of all, he comes in like, I'm just kind of a dick. I'm doing my job. I'm like, hey guys, what's going on? I'm just gonna fucking fight you. And Cygnus is like, what trickery is this? Like, and I don't know, that on its own is really stylish, but yeah, so it's Dynamo. I love Dynamo. I'll continue talking about Dynamo for a while, so that's a thing that's gonna be addressed a bunch. And before we go too far in, we have got, I could probably do these from memory, but I want to read them just to be safe. Guardian of the Great Sea, Tidal Whale, Duff McWhale. So, Tidal Whale. Duff. You were going to say a thing, I think?
Yeah. Just as soon as it gets on screen. Oh, well, actually, this appears to be a remix of Bubble Crab stage music.
It is. And normally I would call that lazy, but... I firmly believe that X5 has the best music for the PlayStation 1 era of the games. And if they couldn't think of a good water theme, then taking one of the best ones and remixing it, I'll let it slide. Because they only do it really, like, the one time, not counting some stuff in the Fortress stages, and that's very much intentional. Like, it's not, oh, we didn't have any ideas, it was, this is the whole point. So, I'll accept it.
Now that this shit is going on, one of the main reasons I don't like X5 is because its entire game design seems to be based around just wasting your time. Like, Aelia chimes in constantly and drags everything to the hull. This fucker just is throughout the entire stage slowing you down. A lot of the enemies have, like, invincibility frames and have a lot of health. It's just, the game wants to waste your time.
And I think a lot of that, you're right, and I completely agree with you. I hate that. I would love a remastering of it where that's not the case. Or at least a story mode, non-story mode sort of thing. Yeah. It's like you can either have all the dialogue and all the slowdown stuff to get full plot, whatever, or you can play it like X1 where it's just like, here you go, here's the level, just keep playing the game. But I think a lot of the delaying in this one, and granted, I don't agree with it, but I think the reasoning is probably that it's the final chapter sort of thing going on, and I bet a lot of that is just like,
Make it feel longer?
It should feel longer, it should feel more grandiose, but without breaking the traditional formula, and it's like, that's fine, but there's better ways for you to do it. And it almost does do it in a couple things, like the 2 armors to collect on its own is already really solid for that kind of thing. And they do other stuff with that extends gameplay in a way that I personally enjoy. I'm sure that if you're trying to speedrun or go through quicker just in general, it's more of a pain in the ass. But this, to me, is so close to the correct pacing for what I want out of the next game. I would say, arguably, at least for a more plot-driven, because obviously like, the Super Nintendo ones are top-notch, just in general. But I feel like this one and the X8 are the closest to, like, a unified story version of the gameplay without sacrificing the stuff that makes the actual series good.
Right.
And that's just me. I'm sure a lot of people feel differently. There's so many different facets to this franchise that, like, you might like Battle Network and none of the other ones, which on its own is, like, a strange or incorrect opinion, if you want to call them that. I love all of them except for Star Force, but this one is kind of interesting in that vein because it's, like, all of them. All at the same time, and it's like the first time that that's the case.
Right.
So it's kind of jarring, and you can tell that it's their first time doing it.
Yeah, like, the pacing in this game is just all over the place.
It's messy, but it's messy because they're trying. I don't think it's messy because they were bad, which, when you compare it to some of the pacing in X7, which is bad, or some of the pacing in the Game Boy games, which is admittedly not the best. This one feels more like pacing that's off because
they're not sure how to do it.
Like it wasn't quite there.
Yeah, like none of the mistakes in the PlayStation 1 games feel malevolent. It's more of a just we're throwing everything at the wall and trying to see what sticks, and it doesn't always work out in their favor, but...
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that, because I love this. It has the same weakness as the boss in the stage, which normally would be a pain, but you have so much ammo that it's kind of acceptable. Also, this charge shot. But, it's interesting that you say that, because each one of them has a unique problem, really, when you think about it. Like, X4 is a really jarring transition where they're trying to get all the new art style and dialogue stuff out correctly. Then they kind of do that, and they come to this one that has off-pacing all over the place, and is a little bit more rushed. Then they kind of fix the pacing, but then they fuck with all the difficulty in, like, translation outright and stuff like that in X6, which is also kind of a mistake in general, because it wasn't even supposed to exist in the first place. So it's like, each PlayStation game has, like, one pillar of error involved with it, but like they all also kind of improve on each other at the same time, which
I can definitely see why people would love X4 or X5 or maybe X6. It's just overall I don't think they hold up compared to the SNES games.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, again with the sole exception of X7, it's a franchise, or at least this section of it, because I don't really think it's the case as sharply, fuck that capsule, as it is in some of the later games. So, like, you know, Zero, or Battle Network, or even Legends, which is a harder thing to compare to because there's only 3 games total for it, 4 if you count a cell phone one. And then the classic games are just the classic games. Like, they're almost not admissible because they're so simple. But this one really, X, it's not an unusual thought to consider that any one of them could be somebody's favorite game for different reasons in the series. Again, with the exception of 7.
We've found people that love X7.
Yeah, there are people that... And I mean, granted, those were reviews from, like, when it was still newer, but...
They exist in some place.
Exactly. And it's fascinating because it's like, they are all almost entirely different, or at least they're different enough. Like, the Super Nintendo games are the ones that fall into that bracket, where it's like, really they're the same game, but they do enough different, where it's like, X1 is the fastest, it doesn't weigh itself down with anything, it's basically just the transition into the new playstyle, it's short, it's mechanically basically flawless. Then 2 expands on that, which slows down a little bit, but makes it more mechanically sound, and then 3 adds a bunch of really cool supplementary stuff, but it's the slowest one out of all of them, and has, like, branching endings and stuff like that, which 2 kind of has. And it just goes on and on from there. Like, I could talk for a long time about just that concept, but...
So...
Which is good, because the stage doesn't have a lot to talk about.
This motherfucker, I hate him for pacing reasons. I also hate him because he keeps doing one game design pet peeve of mine where, like, you can attack him all you want, but you can't damage him until an arbitrary point in time. It's like...
Yep.
Son of a bitch, just have something happen that justifies why you can suddenly damage him. Don't
like
just...
a rock falls on it and breaks his arm or something.
Or it rams into something. Just...
Yeah.
And I hate it.
Compounding on that, how is it with you right now?
I don't...
That tunnel. Like, that's another thing, is just like, spatially it doesn't make any sense. Also, if you fall down there, you die. So there's also...
Wait, you...
Yes.
But...
Yeah.
When you're falling down the first vertical shaft with it, you hover.
I think you die. I've never really let it... I think I've tested it. I don't remember. Maybe you die. In any case, you might die, and that's stupid if you do.
Hey, well, how's it going?
I think this one has the weakest justification for an assist part for the Enigma. Because it's literally just like, we want permission to use the ocean. It's like, you know what? I don't think anyone's going to complain, really, if you just use the ocean right now. It's about to be the apocalypse. You can just, like, put a tube in the ocean and just use the water. But...
And Wayland himself is a colossal fucking dick. Just like his stage. If you want to use my ocean? Fuck you, let's fight!
Well, it's not even that. It's like, I won't let you use it for weapons. It's like, it's gonna get ruined either way. This is the lesser version of that, but, no.
You turgid motherfucker.
You did blow up an antique in his ocean. That probably polluted shit.
The antique attacked us first. It was self-defense.
I was just gonna say. The boat blindsided me, okay?
It came out of nowhere.
So I like his hit reaction sprite because it actually scars him up, like the whole like fisherman, weathered by the sea look, and it's only him. The only thing that confuses me about it is he freezes, and he's the ice boss, which whatever. Also, his weapon's kind of plain, so we won't really get a lot out of Duff McWhalen outside of it's the silliest name of the 8, and his stage is just the worst. Also, those spikes are totally instant kills, which he will try to push you into.
Those are always fun in a boss fight.
I don't mind them in most boss fights. I don't like them in this one. Because in other ones, it's just like you have to monitor your own jump height, like in Bubble Man and Bubble Crab in the refights. In this one, it's actively part of his attack pattern. It's just like, you know what? Unless you're a fortress boss, and even then it's kind of pushing it, just don't do that. Like, it just doesn't feel right to me, especially because it's like, he's creating environments. That should be enough of a gimmick for him. Like, I don't know if I showed it off in that or not. I honestly wasn't really paying attention because of the stun lock. But, like, he'll send out all those ice blocks and then kind of suck them all back in, and it's like you're playing a stage in reverse that also has spikes in it that are easier to avoid. And that's really cool. I like that as a boss mechanic. That's all he should have.
And that will show up in the refight.
It will. It's just while we're talking about it. Yeah, also I really like, as a universe building thing, it's like, X isn't collecting these items. He's not picking up the laser parts, he's not attaching the tube to the ocean or whatever.
Right.
He's securing the area so that other hunters can go in and do their job, and I love the fuck out of that. Like, that's what I want for all of them. Like, I want it to be a cohesive unit. Like, I want the Maverick Hunters to be something that isn't just X and Zero and, like, the supporting cast now. Like, it should be expanded beyond that, and this one, it does that, which I appreciate.
Also, Dynamo.
Which, so happy. So, this is already going to be the immediate insight into why I like his character so much. I'll just kind of let this one go unless you've got anything to say.
I got something to say after the text.
Right. Also, that background's pretty cool, which is a shame considering later on, which...
but, like, even here, the fuck is going on with perspective?
The perspective is just the shitty ground planes. Really. Like, it's not the best in the background, but it's way better than the floor is.
Honestly, this is the game where space and time have no fucking meaning whatsoever. Starting with the goddamn statue,
and just, it gets worse and worse from there. Because there's... And I mean, literally later on, space and time do get kind of fucked up. Or at least space, but different thing. We'll come to that. So all his dialogue is just like, look, I'm just doing my job. I don't really have any reason to fight you. I'm not going to fight to kill, but if I kill you, I'm sorry. Like, it's just a thing that's going to happen. Which, there's something about... I think it's just...
He's enjoying himself while doing it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like, he's so different from every other antagonist that we've had so far. Like, Sigma's the running one, and he's just like, world domination, I'm a bad guy, ha ha ha. And then, like, the X-Hunters are fulfilling, like, a mystical prophecy sort of thing, which we know is just a translation thing, but it's that. 3 has, like, kidnapping and, like, super science and stuff. 4 is, like, political theater, the game, which wasn't even written well. And this one has a really dire plot to it, and all of the other characters are acting seriously, and Dynamo's just here like, what's up? Let's fucking throw down. Like, I don't care. I'm just... This is what I do, and that's it. And that on its own is great, but it gets expanded upon kind of here, but later on more so. And that's the key thing that I love about him. Like, I love his design, I love his attacks and stuff. He's supposed to be an in-between. He's supposed to be able to mirror X and Zero, which is why he's got... He doesn't really use it a lot, but he's got a Buster and a Saber, so it's supposed to be both of them, which is in here, which I should totally be talking about. Since Dynamo has both a sword and a gun, I modeled him after mounted cavalry and other Western movie sources. His Buster is shaped like a cylinder of a revolver, his color is navy blue, and he has yellow lines going up either side of his legs, and he has a belt buckle. Also, since he is able to use both kind of weapons, I gave him some features of both X and Zero. So he's supposed to be, like, the perfect rival for both of them. And again, I fucking love that. Like, everything from his design through his writing is just like, you're the best part of this whole game. And it's not the rest of his death. This is fucking shitty, though, because she has to fight chasers all the time. But yeah, Dynamo's great, and I'll talk more about him.
He's a troll-ass motherfucker, and I can respect that.
Well, that's the thing, is that he's not even really a troll. Like, he kind of is.
Well, like, I'm here to stop whatever the fuck it is you're doing.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is, like, it's not arbitrary. He's a bounty hunter.
Well, yeah.
Like, you know, he isn't a bounty hunter, but, like, he's doing that.
That's the way it's worded.
Yeah. And it's just, it's refreshing, which, you know, is great. X5, God, I'm glad that at least X5 gives me some characters to care about, which is, again, what they should have done with, like, Colonel General, Iris, all of them, but this one actually doesn't. It'll come up more later on.
I hate this text box so goddamn much. In any of the SNES games, opening this door would be a fucking secret. Like, you'd have to discover that you had to collect all the energy things to open the door. In here, it's like, no, this is exactly how you do it. There's something here, get the shit, do this, go have fun. It's like, no, let me explore the game and learn, you son of a bitch.
You're not wrong. That had never occurred to me before. I'm okay with it being in reference to the bullshit Ride Chaser level. Like, on the one hand, you're totally right. Completely acceptable complaint. Although, in fairness, if you don't collect all of them, you still use all of the ones you did get, so it kind of shows, like, hey, something's happening here, but the text box also comes up every time, so it kind of fights itself no matter what. But basically, that's the thing. But yeah, you're right. I don't know, like, I was going to transition to something else there, but it's a shit stage, so I don't mind it. But also, you're not wrong.
Also, the reasoning that we couldn't just run that Ride Chaser segment was because the ground was fucked up?
The reason that's even stupider than what you just said is the fact that she even follows up with, even the Land Chaser, which is Ride Chaser, almost didn't make it. It's like, oh yeah, because it's
a motorcycle!
Yeah, it's like, why would you do that? So,
I'm pretty sure you could have platformed it just fine, honestly.
You absolutely could have. I don't think any of those gaps are too big.
I'd like to see a modded version where you're not on a Ride Chaser on that segment.
That would be cool. It would need enemies, but yeah. So, this is the introduction of the Reploid rescue system. In this one, it's not really that intrusive. They can't be killed. When you collect them, they give you an extra life if you're at full health, or extra health when you're damaged, or both, or
something.
I never really pay attention to exactly how it goes up, but they heal you or give you an extra life. Which, fine. That will progressively get more and more terrible.
Yeah, it's all downhill from here.
It is literally all downhill from here, so...
Just...
Yeah, and it sucks, because, like, I love that idea, too. Like, that's a mechanic that I wish was good, and it is in this one, and then just after that, just fuck it. Just every time it comes up. Also, just fuck this level. Like, it sucks, because I love this boss. I love his writing, even if it's translated badly. I love his design, I love his attacks. I love this boss. I hate this fucking level, and it goes completely in line with what you were talking about earlier. It is literally just designed to slow you down.
Yep, along with these enemies.
Yep. This entire stage, it starts off with trapping you, making you collect those things if you want to 100% the game, which on its own is a chore. Luckily, they stay, like, you can just kill yourself if you miss one, so that's whatever. But there's that obstacle where you're perfect at your first time, and you have to keep doing it. And then it's immediately followed up by just probably one of the slowest levels, if not in this game, then in general. Maybe. That might be a stretch. But it's not the worst idea, again, but it's executed so stunningly poorly that just... I will use this opportunity to say the boss name, because I forgot to do that again.
I'm pretty sure in the regular recording, it initially took us over half an hour to get through.
Oh yeah, I fucked this up real bad. This recording went great, and I'm proud of it, but fuck this fucking level. Super Magnetic Trap! Volt Kraken Squid Abler. Volt Kraken is like one of the coolest fucking boss names. And again, like, all of them are like that. It's like, Crescent Grizzly even sounds pretty badass, honestly. It's just so close.
Honestly, Grizzly Slash isn't a bad translation.
Grizzly Slash isn't either, but, like, knowing what it is kind of puts a damper on it, where it's like, alright, if it wasn't a reference to Slash, who admittedly I think is a very good guitarist, someone's gonna fucking destroy me if I was wrong about that. I don't remember. Slash is pretty cool, if I'm remembering right. I don't know. Yeah, it's a cool name.
So, Alias said that some of these rescue replets might have carts?
No, so the way she words it, even in this translation, is basically just, there are workers, save them. Also, there might still be a working energy cart somewhere in the laboratory.
Why the fuck is a game from PlayStation referencing cartridges?
Because it's supposed to be like an ammo cartridge. Like it's, I think it's basically supposed to be a battery. I don't know, I think it sounds good. I want an energy cartridge. Energy cartridge? You're a dirty diss, you don't get to talk about this. Yep. This sucks.
In X4, the plasma shot over-penetrated and would have hit like 4 times, damaging that. Why was that removed? Like, I understand it not going through stage elements.
I guess just because of the shield, because I don't think it would penetrate a shield enemy, like the top one.
It totally would. It would just take off it, but it would, like, take 4 times and it would pop each time.
You're probably right. I don't recall directly, but in either case, it's definitely probably good. Those will kill you if they close on you. That's why I'm being cautious there. That's an important thing to point out. Which...
It slows you down more.
It slows you down more, but at least that's kind of an element that makes it, like, those things close fast. It's like, you know what? That one I'll give to you. I just don't like the puzzle in general. So.
Yeah, it's...
Also, this is... Again, it's like a boss that I love, so I hate saying it, but, like, this is another weakness weapon that, like, isn't really great for the boss mechanics. It at least doesn't do the crazy stun-locking thing in this.
Yeah,
but
that
it's still
doesn't
just
seem
like
to be a problem in this one.
It shoots down. Like, it can be. Trust me. Like, I just avoid it in this one. Okay, so this is more great dialogue, even with the Rocky translation. Is, you know, you come right in. He's an ex-hunter, so he's somebody that has worked with X in the past. And right there is more referencing to the back ones, which is one of the things that X5 is just consistently good about, is referencing the other games in ways that make sense. Is Volt, Kraken, and Launch Octopus were teammates at one point. And so this whole thing is basically dialogue saying, like, I need your help. Why would you come in and just ask me for help? There's not even a greeting. He's like, oh, well, I'm sorry that I had to kill your friend. He's like, I wasn't talking about that. You did your job. Don't worry about it. I'm just not a fan of everything that's going on right now. And he's actually about to cooperate. This is another thing that I really like. It's like, it's an ex-boss room. You know you're going to fight him. But he's still written in a way where it's acceptable. It's like, you know what? I don't need this anymore. It's not really going to make a difference, but if you want it, here you go. You can have it. But then in the process of him handing it over, he goes Maverick in dialogue. It's like, cool. You know what? Just do more of that stuff. Like,
Woo!
Yeah, it's not translated the best. Oh, that's the other thing, is Launch Octopus is Octopardo, which means they westernized the Japanese name.
Or at least directly translated it.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant. But yeah.
Romanized it.
But then they gave, like, a double translation to all the normal bosses in this one. So it's like, somehow they went backwards. It's weird.
Maybe they just didn't realize what it was referencing, since I'm sure it's a completely different team than whoever localized X1. Like, who fucks an Octopardo? Fuck it.
That's possible. That is possible. Although Octopardo, I'm pretty sure, is just octopus in Japanese, but I'm really not sure on that. I don't really want to reference it because I didn't like the videos overall, but somebody made a good point about this game's special weapons. This one is an important one for it. You get, I think it's Triad Thunder. I forget the exact translation for this one all the time.
I think it's Triad.
Tri-Thunder, so close enough. Triad Thunder is the X3 one. So A, using a similar name, and B, basically Thunder Beam from Mega Man 1. Which, on its own, is whatever, but this one duplicates a couple weapons. Like, Goo Shaver is the one that... Yeah, just one of the worst names ever for a weapon. Is basically Ground Hunter from X4, which is just one game prior. The charge shots are different, but it was just an interesting observation that hadn't occurred to me. It's like, there is a lot of that in this one, which is kind of part of the referential and kind of just lazy.